Hello everyone and welcome back to my video. In today's video, we're going to be going over volatility versus consistency in Smash Ultimate. And this is essentially just, okay, which characters are going to be doing good a majority of the time in tournament, which characters are going to give you the super high highs, but buster out fairly early, and where on a tier list do most of these characters reside. And we have to go back to where this question kind of first centralized in Smash Ultimate, and that was all the way at the beginning of the game in Chrom versus Roy. And the debate there is you're going to have Chrom's offstage game being a lot worse for the advantage of his onstage game being a lot better. And things have changed. Roy's onstage game has gotten way better because of the amount of sour spot combos you're getting, as well as Chrom losing Chrom's side, which has definitely shifted it more towards Roy's favor. But towards the start of the game, this was a much more serious discussion because you had Chrom players who were extremely scary in tournament, but it was a little bit trickier for them to be consistent. Even back then, you had the best Chrom in the world, probably being Shoyo James, now Rivers at the time, so he was amazing with Chrom, but some of his results were even still a little bit inconsistent back then, and that's just because naturally Chrom is an inconsistent character. His onstage game is ridiculous. His advantage state is unreal. I mean, he's kind of a swordsman archetype, and all the swordsmen are going to be strong in that area. You obviously have those big pokes, and you also have the consistency that Roy is lacking in certain areas. There's a lot of last stock, last hit situations that I've been seeing a lot more nowadays where Roy is going to be losing them because he's getting a pivotal sour spot. And that's because people are playing outside of his sweet spot range way better than they used to be. And with Chrom, if you're able to hit those sour spots, what would have been a sour spot for Roy is a sweet spot for you, and you're able to get the kill. You also have the full hitbox of your Nair being a sweet spot, your down tilt, all of your tilts being sweet spots, which is really good because Roy, you don't really get anything off of his sour spot tilt. And while he does get some stuff off the aerials in certain situations, you're definitely going to be favoring Chrom, especially in the kill situations. Now, that's where Chrom makes for it on stage, but he's still the more volatile character because his offstage recovery is so bad. Literally every single character in the game can not only edgeguard Chrom, they can edgeguard Chrom well, including Little Mac, because they can just counter the up B and kill him. It is really difficult for Chrom to be able to get back to stage, so you have to choose, okay, which is going to be better? A little bit less consistent combos will say, though, again, Roy does have a lot of stuff, and I'm not even trying to make an argument that Chrom and Roy, which one's better. Roy is clearly better, but towards the start, this was kind of what the argument was. Are you going to take the little bit more inconsistent combos for the better offstage gameplay, or are you going to take the better onstage gameplay with the worst offstage, making Chrom the more volatile one? And as you can see in the meta, the more consistent character in Roy was the one that favored out. And in Modern Smash Ultimate, you do have this similar dichotomy of volatile versus consistency. And in today's meta, you're actually seeing some of the volatile characters have a lot of success. Most notably, Kazuya. I would say Kazuya is an extremely volatile character, arguably the definition of it, because he has one thing insanely strong. His advantage state / combo game is ridiculously good. Everything else, though, it is fairly weak. And on the other hand, you have Terry, who is just all around fairly good. He's pretty fast, has amazing combos, has amazing damage output, great kill confirms, okay disadvantage state, but he's not having as much success as Kazuya. Now, do I think this is a trend that's going to continue? No. I think Terry is going to eventually surpass Kazuya, but Kazuya's X factor is so insanely strong that he makes up for all the disadvantages that he has. So it kind of proves that while a character can still be volatile, when their one win condition is so incredibly good, it can definitely outweigh the bad parts about them. And when you have a character like Terry, who is still good, by the way, and I think is going to continue getting better, extremely underrated, you have a character here where, while not being as volatile, being a lot more consistent, his strengths are nowhere nearly as high. Like, I think Terry's really good. Kazuya just hits way harder. I mean, he hits harder than anyone in the game, but he's also one of the easiest characters to bully around in the air. So when you have a character like Kazuya, who's extremely volatile, having a lot of consistent success at the top level, makes you wonder why that is. And the reason is, of course, because his advantage state is just so ridiculously good and outweighs the bad disadvantage. Next up, you have two characters on the volatile side, and that is going to be Incineroar and Ice Climbers. Now, these guys only do have one notable main each in Big D and Skyja. While there are other people that are definitely making the character work, it is not nearly to the extent of these two. And the reason for that is these characters are extremely volatile. I would say that Ice Climbers have some of the most polarizing matchups in the entire game, even though they're still like a mid-tier, high-tier character somewhere within that area, Incineroar as well. They still have some matchups that they just lose so insanely hard because people can just deal with Nana super easily, but there's also some matchups where they just win super hard because you can just mash on people's shield relentlessly. Incineroar kind of has that same thing. There are some matchups where he can get in, apply his pressure extremely well, and there are some matchups where he never stood a chance in neutral. So he makes these characters extremely volatile because there's going to be certain tournaments, certain brackets that have it so you're getting your good matchups. And your good matchups are great for you. You're going to be farming through those brackets. That's why you've seen Big D and SkyJ being able to make these top 8s. But what makes those players so special is even when they get some of their bad matchups. Let's go back to Big D's run at main stage. He had to fight Apollo Kage in winner's side of top 8 in Snake versus Ice Climbers, and he was able to win that. That is an insanely difficult matchup, and most Ice Climbers players are going to be losing it. But that's what sets Big D apart. Even with those super losing matchups, he is still able to win it, because despite Ice Climbers having, again, some of the most polarizing matchups in the game, even in their super bad matchups, you're still going to be an extremely strong character with a really good X Factor. That's what Incineroar has as well. If you can get both Climbers or a Revenge Incineroar to finally get your hit, you're going to be dealing like 70% of people. Then you only need to win 1 or 2 more neutral interactions. So even though Incineroar and Ice Climbers are still extremely volatile characters, if they are able to land their 1 or 2 hits, they're able to come back into the game, and it kind of just adds viability to them. Now, overall, again, they're still in that mid-tier / high-tier area. They're not amazing characters. There's not going to be a huge resurgence of these characters all of a sudden, because 90% of the time, people are just going to be drowning in pools, not getting to the top 64 era because they come across some really tough matchups, and there's only a couple people that when they come across those really tough matchups are able to overcome them, like, again, Big D and SkyJ. Next up, you're going to have a more consistent character, and for consistency, you're pretty much just trading a stronger neutral game plan for a weaker X Factor. And I think the best character in the game to demonstrate this is going to be Palutena. Insane neutral game plan. One of the best sets of aerials in the game. You have dash attack to make up space, as well as it just being a really strong burst range option that you can't really intercept with because it is invincible. You have an amazing grab. You have teleport cancels. Sometimes Exposed Flame is going to be catching people off of guard. You have drag downs into up tilt. So all of her moves do have a use, though some of them more than others. You're definitely going to be in the air more. But when it comes down to the killing, it gets a little bit tricky. Palutena becomes extremely linear. She doesn't have any ways to super steal a stock from you outside of her downer maybe clipping a jump against a character with a bad recovery. So there are still ways. Yes, she is still a top tier character. Palutena is still very good. I still have her in that top 30, 20 area range. She's still a good character. But when it comes to securing that kill, it can get really tricky. That's why you see players like Luis just throwing out some of the craziest options. He'll go for some nutty up smash reads, and he'll hit them a lot of the time because people aren't expecting. They're expecting this safe, neutral game frame from Palutena because it is so strong, it is so overwhelming, and when you can throw a wrench in there, it can definitely catch people off guard. But there's still characters that I would favor Palutena over in the last stock, last hit situation. For example, Incineroar. I think Incineroar is a way worse character than Palutena. Last stock, last hit, I am taking Incineroar every single time because he has so many more ambiguous ways to close out the stock. In a comeback as well, he can steal the stock a lot easier. Now, if I had to say who's going to be placing better at a tournament most of the time, it's going to be Palutena. Let's say 90% of the time, Palu gets 17th, Incineroar gets 33rd. That 10% though, Incineroar is going to be getting like a 4th, while Palutena is going to be getting probably a 7th. And while Palu can definitely be brought to those peaks, it is a lot harder to bring the character to the peaks than it is to take a volatile character to those peaks. And that's kind of the trade-off you're getting with consistency. You're going to be getting better placements overall, but it's going to be really hard to match the highs. And the final character I want to talk about in full is going to be Aegis, and it's because they kind of break my definition of volatile. My definition of volatile is your character is going to have an extremely strong X factor, but all their other attributes might be a little bit weaker. And there's a couple of characters that don't meet this, most notably Chrom, and then, of course, Aegis. Aegis, it feels like when you're playing against an Aegis, your character all of a sudden is the volatile character, because 90% of neutral interactions, you're just going to be losing, because Mythra is just likely a better character than you, and then you have Pyra for the clutch as well. But once you actually get in, you get your one interaction, you get your hit, all of a sudden they become this super volatile character that can die in one hit off stage. It's just really interesting how they kind of go from being a super consistent character, always winning it out of neutral, to all of a sudden, oh, I got hit off stage and I died. So if I had to put Aegis in a category, I would definitely put them in that more volatile tier, but also we have Kazuya in the volatile tier for sure. And those are still two characters that are still having a lot of success. They just have some extremes about them that would make them more volatile, but their attributes that are good keep them consistent because, my god, they're so good. And I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In summary, there are consistent characters. There are inconsistent characters. There are certain characters that seem inconsistent in theory, but in practice, their X factors or their neutral game plan or whatever it is just so insanely strong that they're able to win anyways, like Aegis, like Kazuya. And if I had to recommend picking up a character based off consistency or volatility, I personally would gravitate more towards consistency, though the high highs are important. I think just getting there more often with a consistent character is going to help you improve more as a player, but I would recommend picking up a second secondary character that is a little bit more volatile, something with a bit of a stronger X factor that can swing sets in your favor, because you're very rarely, pretty much never, going to be putting that character into an actual bad matchup. It's going to be even or favor them, so you're able to play to their strengths, which is always going to be nice, and then you can use your more consistent all-rounder character to get you through the rest of the bracket. But anyways, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Sports been absolutely unreal. Thank you guys for everything, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.